Welcome to Let's Get Writing Author Reads, and my guest today is Justin B. Hodder and his book, The Mists of Mort. That's not the easiest thing to say. The Mists of Mort.
There you go.
Oh, I love it. Justin, we had a wonderful interview on my YouTube channel and Facebook, and now we're going to delve a little bit between the pages of this book. But before we do, maybe we'll let people know a little bit about you. It's your first book and it's self-published.
Yep. This is my first stab at the writing game, and I did self-publish. Like I said, I'm a very creative guy, and I wanted to have that control, and I had a vision, and I wanted to make sure that it was put across exactly how I wanted to. So I decided that the self-publishing route was the one for me. I'd like to keep my options open, and maybe one day I'll put it out there and see if any publishers like the feel of it. But for now, I'm just doing my own thing.
Yeah, and maybe even a movie out of this one. It's very visual and
don't get my hopes up.
Well, it's like the Lara Croft of
there you go.
I don't know, of the Mort.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
But it's an adventurous book and fun to read and engaging. So I don't want to give everything away, but you're going to read an excerpt, and then we'll have a little more of a chat. So I'll let you take it away. And by the way, folks, Justin is an author from Newfoundland, Canada. Please let us know where you're watching from. And I'm based also in Newfoundland. I'm in central Newfoundland, and he is on the East Coast. And he's one of the many wonderful authors we have in our province.
That's right. Just join the club. Join the club.
Justin, what are you going to read before I go down to the corner?
So just, I guess, one last show there. So my novel is titled The Mists of Mort, and today I'm going to read an excerpt from about a quarter of the way through the book. So just to give you a taste of what to expect, it's an adventure fiction, so aimed mostly at adults. So that's what you can expect from the reading. And if you want, I'll jump right in.
Yeah, jump right in. I'm going to just sit back and relax.
All right, here we go. The rattle of the train's wheels passing over the tracks resonated through the car. Emily had retreated, breathing cathartically while crouching back into her hiding place between the seats. Loose strands of hair were stuck to the sweat that was beating down her nape. Her arms were wrapped around her shins as she rocked herself back and forth. Tears seeped from the corners of her eyes, all while remaining fixated on the back of Caleb's head. He turned around slowly and dropped the blanket from his clenched fist, his face masked with a look of surprise and pain. As their pupils locked, Caleb lifted his arm and began pawing at his neck, bringing his hand to the ribbed shaft of the knife that Emily had just shoved into his jugular. A hiss of static fluttered from the radio in his holster, followed by the Cardinal's voice. "Status report, we're 2 hours out." Fading, Caleb dropped his gun, allowing it to swing to the side of his hip. He reached for the radio, one last attempt to alert the other of Emily's presence. She stilled, her eyes unblinking, unwavering. "Anthony here. I'm almost finished setting up the antenna. All clear." She watched Caleb lift the radio, thumbing unsuccessfully at its button while attempting to form words. Trying to catch a breath, his Adam's apple was bobbing against the blade in his throat, preventing him from swallowing as curdles of blood burbled over his bottom lip. "Cardinal, Drew and I almost got the cargo assembled and repackaged. All clear." More static. "Caleb, report. Everything okay back there?" Hearing the Cardinal say Caleb's name caused Emily to stir. She snapped to the realization that even a grunt over the radio would alert the others that something was wrong. Using the base of her seats to lift herself, she reached ahead and snatched the radio away from Caleb, clipping it onto her belt behind her back. She gripped the handle sticking from his throat and in swift succession kicked his sternum and withdrew the knife as he fell away. She hadn't thought of what would happen next. Someone would undoubtedly come looking for him if he didn't respond at all. The remnant trickle of Caleb's blood trailed from the sharp edge of the blade and onto her knuckles. She grabbed the blanket from the floor and swiped the knife to clean it before sheathing it again and looking down at Caleb. Every time his heart would beat, a squirt of blood would launch from the hole in his neck. Seconds later, the squirting stopped. "Can someone please go find Caleb? I don't need another idiot pulling stunts on this mission," the Cardinal's raspy voice ordered from over the radio. Emily bent over and grabbed Caleb's body by the shoulder straps of his vest, using them to drag him back to the back of the train car. With every tug, her feet slipped against the blood-laden floor, making the disposal of his limp body slower than she would have liked. Her eyes bounced from the back door of the train car to the gangways, watching for the approach of the other order members. As her shoulder butted against the steel doorway, she slid it open, and from a crouch rolled Caleb's body from the train, watching as it slumped onto the tracks and quickly disappeared out of sight. Once she was back on her feet, she ran to the train car and across the gangway to the fourth car, diving into the seat where she had left her belongings. She checked her bag for the handgun. It was still there, much easier to maneuver with than the R4. Jason, Drew, the Cardinal's voice sounded sternly over the radio. After discarding her bag on the seat, Emily poked her head around the armrest. The coast was clear. For now.
Da, 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 da.
Da, da, da. That's just about 2 pages or a page and a half of a mid chapter there for you.
Yeah, Emily's in a bit of a crunch there.
She is not in a good position right there. No.
And it's not over yet. So the interesting thing with your book, you wanted to take an adventure that traveled around the world, that took your readers to some different locations. So are you going to say where she is right now? Or
yeah, well, in that excerpt that I just read there, she is currently in Peru, and she is chasing this artifact that's on the back of the book, which I will keep secret because it's a bit of a revelation when it comes down to brass tacks time. But she's close to finding or potentially finding what she thinks this is. So she just has a lot of hurdles in front of her right now on that train to get by before she can gain any success on her journey.
So, Justin, when you're sitting, on your lunch break or early in the morning working on the book, how do you travel yourself to these locations and get this going in your head and out of your head? What happens?
Basically, the way I like to start when I'm doing my writing is I think of what I consider, I guess, exotic locations where, you have different backgrounds and different, ethnicities and so on, so forth, like a mixture. And then I realize, I close my eyes and I picture what I think it looks like. And then I'm not going to lie, I use the internet a little bit to Google some images, see what's in that location that I can play off of. And that's what I did. I mean, I start the book in New York, which is where my character is from. And I've been to New York, so that was a little easier. But when she jumps to a place like Peru, which I've personally never visited, Google Maps was my friend. I will, be honest with you. So it was interesting because it helped me learn just as much about these places that I would have never learned had I not been writing. So.
And interesting because how much easier it is now that we have these kind of tools at our fingertips. When we want to research something, we can just go on to Chrome or whatever your search engine is and look things up.
Yeah, and I mean, there was times like one of the big things about this book is I wanted to be both as historically accurate and physically accurate to any location or history that I may be tampering with when it came to the writing in the book. So there would, I mean, I'm not lying when I say if there was a place she visited in Peru, like a building, and I needed her to look out a window to see if she could see a mountain range, I would take the little man from Google and drop him physically in that area, and then I would do a 360 view to see if she could physically see the mountain range from that building she was standing in. And if she couldn't, then I would either write a different building or I would not have her look at the mountains, one of the two, and that is fact. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. But
to be that accurate, that's certainly, but hey, the tools are there, which is wonderful.
And I had fun doing it, so.
Yeah, you did have a lot of fun. And now that the book is done, you're doing a lot of work with marketing it. And do you have any tips for anybody out there who might be wanting to market their self-published book?
Yeah, like my biggest thing is just put yourself out there. Like I said before, just try to get over if you have a fear of rejection or the word no, just try to get past that because, you may kick open 100 doors and 99 may get slammed in your face, for lack of a better term. But the one that stays open might be the one that you were meant to go through all along. So just send out the emails, contact the people. Like when I did a lot of stuff, I contacted the managers up in Ontario or Ottawa of Costco. Like I literally went to like the high ups, and a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I can't talk to them because they're VIPs or whatever." And not this guy. I put out every email I needed to. I phoned. If there was a phone number listed on a certain contact that I needed to reach, I would pick up the phone, and if someone answered, well, guess what? We had a 10 to 15-minute conversation that either worked or didn't work. But at least at the end of the call, they knew who Justin Hodder was. So,
and Justin, your experience in sales, no doubt, has served you very well.
Yeah,
not everyone's going to do that.
Yeah, you just got, you got to be personable, look for someone's needs. I'm not out here, I'm not looking to sell a book to someone who don't read, you know what I mean? Because that's just not ethically what I'm in it for. I'm looking to, find readers who've been looking for an adventure fiction based out of Newfoundland that doesn't revolve around Newfoundland, and just that's the niche that I'm looking for. And at the same time, I'm hoping maybe a stranger picks it up, reads it, and is like, wow, this could be so much more if this guy had a little bit of extra backing, or, had a bit more help getting to a wider audience. And if I ever reach that, then by all means, come see me. So.
Well, here's one little thing you did. It's hard to pick it up, but this is a bookmark that you created, which I thought was really brilliant, and encouraged people to take a picture with your book and share it on social media.
And, even the first paragraph there, if you want to read it yourself, it pretty much says it, right?
As a self-publishing author, support from the reader is the biggest factor that leads to one's success. And buying the book is only the first step. With your assistance, I would love if you could take the time to complete the below requests to help benefit my career moving forward. And then
I go on too.
You go on about the things that they can do to help you. And I thought that was really great.
Thank you.
Great idea.
Buying the book is 100%. Obviously, it's the biggest driver of success or support, right? Those are the words I like to use: support and success. So, but a lot of people need to realize, and I think it's important to realize for when it comes to self-published authors as well, that we do this on our own. So the buck doesn't stop when you buy the book. As great as that is, there's so much more you could do to support your local authors or your friend or your family. And these days with the internet, it takes a simple click or just a little post, So I was just trying to make people aware that if you wouldn't mind, any support will help, even if it's a like or a share or a comment or a 5-star rating on Amazon. So
absolutely. And and that applies to any author.
That's correct.
If you're out there watching this, if you have a book that you have enjoyed, the amount of work, that's like the tip of the iceberg, the reading of the book, the work that's gone into the making of that book, the creating of that book, every author would appreciate that share and that thank you.
Not just self-published. I was just using my own experience, but yes, any author that's out there could use that support. That's correct.
Yeah. But yes, on self-publishing, it's totally on you. So there is a distinction. In some cases, there is a publisher also helping, and their websites are sharing it. So no, you're fair in saying that. You're fair.
Everybody deserves the support. No doubt. I wouldn't try to squeeze it into the self-publishing, but just in my experience is where I drew that the paragraph you just read from.
Yeah.
But that is true. Any writer, any creative outlet person, any artist, we'll call it. They need that support. Buying it is one thing. That's absolutely a great thing to do. But by spreading the word is definitely the second best thing you can do. So.
Yeah. Well said, Justin. I think that's a great point to conclude this. I think people watching have had a taste of your writing and a taste of your philosophy, and your passion just speaks for itself. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for noticing.
So much. It's been really fun to sit down, and I get to meet some very wonderful people doing my shows, and I think I have the best fun. And I'm creating this as well, job that I can do.
From my standpoint, it's been an honor to be accepted to come on your show here and do these readings and talk about myself. And, I hope to bring, it's nice to see your viewers get attention of myself, but hopefully some of my followers, because of this interview, will now grab onto some attention to you. So it's a two-way street, and
it is,
and it's people like locals helping locals and artists helping artists is what it's all about. So.
Well, we'll both share each other's work.
There you go.
Thank you so much. And folks, thanks for tuning into Let's Get Writing Author Reads. It's just a little addition to the interviews we do to give you more sense to get to know your favorite authors. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget, if you want to see all the shows, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Kathryn Taylor TV and share a bit of love. Have a great day. Bye now. And bye, Dustin.
Bye.